Get in, nerds. We're playing Victoria 3. We're still building cities, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to take us back up to speed 3 here. Again, I'm going to try to default to speed 3 and just drop down to speed 2 when we're making a decision of some kind. We're currently working on our coal mines, and after that, we're going to be working on our universities. But I think pretty soon we're going to be... Gosh, these texts take so long. It's kind of bananas, to be honest, which is part of why I'm building up all these universities. Once I've built up a bunch of different universities in various areas, after that, I'm going to be building up a bunch of universities in the capital. That will have a couple of different effects. One is it will increase the number of academics in the capital, which will increase the overall power of the intelligentsia, because academics, even more than clerks, align with the intelligentsia politically. And the other thing it's going to do for us is that when universities are all, or any building, when buildings are all together, there's a throughput bonus based on the level of the industry. So while it's important to spread out universities, to have enough universities everywhere, it's also the case that building them all up in one area will increase the overall output of the universities altogether. But I think at some point here, it's going to be necessary to also output an additional construction sector. And I'm trying to figure out, I want to put it someplace with a lot of population that are working in subsistence, because that's going to be a place that's going to see a lot of construction. This is going to cost us some additional cash, but it's going to increase the construction output of both the private and public sectors. And I think that's important. So I think I'm going to actually queue one in Schleswig-Holstein and one in Gotland. I still didn't look up that pronunciation guide. It's interesting. I get sort of on a roll with this stuff, and I forget that I am meaning to do other stuff. Excellent. We got a successful run at public schools straight off the bat, and that's very good. We still don't have an opposing movement, and that's very good. I'm going to hope that sticks around. I'm going to put the capital universities after the new construction sectors. This business here is going to overall cost us a lot of money. Actually, I'm going to put another level of coal mines here. And I'm going to sneak that up to the top, and that's going to provide us with enough coal to do everything we need to do. Basically to get all of our mines on condensing pump engine, or atmospheric pump engine. And that's going to be really, really important. And it'll also produce some extra coal for our people to heat their houses with, which is also important. See, where are we with intensive agriculture? We're nearly there. That's very good. I've gotten very lucky with tech spread, getting the technologies that I want to spread to me. I didn't get nationalism, but I got egalitarianism, and egalitarianism is pretty good. So that's just, I've generally gotten very lucky. See, one of the things about technology in Victoria 3 is, dang. Alright, so now that there's a movement, this is going to have a stall chance, and it's a pretty high stall chance, to be real. In fact, I don't love that. But it is what it is. We're going to work our hardest to... Oh, they're quite radical as well. From angry interest groups. It's just the Church of Sweden. That's interesting. Well, we'll see if they decide to have to try to fight a revolution about the public schools. Which they might. The Church of Sweden might try to fight the government over public schooling, but if it happens, it happens. What was I talking about? Yes, I'm also going to need more tooling workshops, because the fact is, the tooling workshops that we built before are not going to cut it. So I'm going to put those. at the top as well. I know I said I was going to build these universities, and I am going to build these universities, but for now, we're just going to work on getting the industry up. I think after these, we might do the construction sectors, and that'll put us back in a deficit. I know I just got to a surplus, but I'm going to put us back in a deficit again. We've still got a significant national reserve, and I'm pretty okay with that. I'm very comfortable with the amount of military that we currently have, so I'm not worrying about the military situation whatsoever. We are spending a significant amount on military wages and goods for military buildings, almost 19,000 total. So, you know, it's a significant expenditure. We also have 43 bureaucracy costs per level of these things. I think gonna increase. No, I'm not gonna increase that because I'm not. No, I've already got education. All right, so I'm gonna increase investment into law enforcement. That's going to reduce the effects of turmoil and reduce radicals from standard of living decreases even further. Curriculum disagreements. Disagreements within the government about what should be taught in the new public schools have brought implementation of the reform to a standstill. These classes may have been well suited for the tutoring of noblemen 2 centuries ago, but believing they would serve a broader range of students well in this day and age is outright lunacy. And you mean to say your modern alternatives would serve them better? You would have the classical subjects phased out in favor of ignorance and poor grammar? Alright, so our options are we can force a compromise. This reduces enactment success chance and makes everybody big mad. We can take some time to work out the differences. This just increased enactment time. We can rearrange the law to create an independent body for this. This will provide no benefit and cause a setback. I'm going to take time to work out the differences. Taking longer is always better than setbacks, in my opinion, because setbacks can cancel your enactment of the law completely if you get too many of them. And that's 3. That number is 3. So I'm going to keep it at where we are. We're going to have high chance of debates, but hopefully we can buy enough time to get consideration and assent passed before anything goes buck wild. So the reason I'm doing this, actually, I finished my farms and I didn't do the thing I was going to do, which is I'm going to set this to condensing pump engine. This came up because we have a shortage of coal, and the reason we have a shortage of coal is because the coal mine wasn't actually operating until just now. And the reason it wasn't was that there was no market for coal in the country. But now there's a market for coal in the country, so this coal mine has just opened and started hiring. And that's the way things go for this coal mine. Now you'll notice something interesting here, which is that when we got condensing pump engine, the ownership production method changed from merchant guilds, which is what it was, what it still is for this other mine that operates with picks and shovels, which is the ownership is allocated entirely to shopkeepers. It changed for this mine to capitalists, to private ownership, which is the idea that like the condensing pump engines have got to come from somewhere, and the profits for the mines will be traded to those people in exchange for use of the condensing pump engines. And that's how the structure works. So that's why this mine is now capitalist owned. What that means is that as more and more of our mines shift over to condensing pump engines, atmospheric engines, condensing pump's the one below it. As more of our mines switch over to the new production method, more and more of the power will be allocated away from the petite bourgeoisie and into the hands of capitalists. As you can see, the power of our interest groups is going up, and the legitimacy of our government has already increased because we reduced the taxes. So, actually have a significant profit here. So this is good. This is very good. I'm glad we're in the black as we move into as we now are in the middle of 1939. I think we're at 18 months till these states are fully incorporated. So I'm actually going to put the construction sectors in Schleswig-Holstein and Götaland above the universities, because those are going to be a real benefit to the economy. See, businesses that are profitable will pool some of their profit into what's called the investment pool. And the investment pool is controlled by the private industry. So this is the government construction queue, but over here is the private construction queue. And the private industry gets half of the overall construction that I output. And right now, I think we're in a situation where there's too much money in the investment pool and not enough construction capacity to use it. So that's why the investment pool is building up a large reserve here. So that's part of why I'm increasing the number of construction sectors. And in anticipation of doing that, because my construction sectors use a production method called iron frame buildings, that's going to increase my total the total iron needs of my country significantly, because these use 50 iron per level. They're very, very resource intensive. So that's part of why I'm working on the condensing pump engine, because keeping your construction sectors high and your both private and public construction industry rolling along is very important to your long-term growth, particularly private construction, because public construction you often turn on and off depending on the financial needs of your government, but private construction can theoretically go all the time as long as there's money in the investment pool. And as long as there's profitable businesses, there's going to be money flowing into the investment pool. Crooked connections. This is interesting. Frustrated with the lengthy legal process surrounding public schools, Jacob de la Garde of the Intelligentsia has approached us with an offer to expedite the process utilizing his personal connections within the state apparatus. A few words in the right ears is all I'm asking for. Everything within the bounds of the law, of course, although I can't guarantee that our opponents in this matter will view such actions with much glee. So if we get him permission, it reduces enactment time but pisses off the church. And if we do it by the book, it increases enactment time. And I'm going to do it by the book, because again, enactment time doesn't matter all that much to me. But the church not being unhappy about this is very important to me. That's just the way it is. Like, I can't have them be getting angrier and angrier over time. One of the big advantages of this is that because each level of investment that I've currently got in my education institutions increases church power by 10%, when I get over to public schools, they'll get much weaker, and then I won't have to worry about their anti-free speech, anti-woman opinions as much. So that's something that that's part of why I'm doing this. Again, if I went to private, I would transfer that power over to the intelligentsia, but I'm going to public because it's very important to keep the as large a part of the country literate as possible, because that's the lifeblood of our technology, of our technological advancement, is a literate populace. So that's basically the core of my logic for why I'm doing that way. We're still working on this next coal mine, and then after that I'm going to do one more set of tooling workshops. I'm very tempted to move the construction sectors first below Yeah, I actually think I'm going to do this. It's going to cost a lot of money, but it's okay. We'll get the rest of these mines working on atmospheric pump engines, and then they'll stay profitable because the cost of iron will go way up. And we'll continue to pay for it using the increases in taxation that we'll get from fully incorporating the Danish states. So for research, we're going to go into these two. And I think once we've got general staff for the better infantry, I think that's going to be our time to move into doing nationalism. And after that, pan-nationalism. Pan-nationalism is going to say, wow, pan-nationalism is tier 3. It's going to take forever. Nationalism is tier 3. Heck, tier 2, rather. It's going to take forever as well. Huh, I didn't realize these took so long. Oh, no, it's saying how long it'll take for them to finish. It's not when. Okay, so pan-nationalism is really 6 years, because nationalism is 9. Yeah, 3 years to research. Yeah, and pan-nationalism has a much higher cost. 9,000 versus... This math is funny. Well, in any case, we'll start doing nationalism once we've gotten done with general staff. Um, I am tempted to get realism or pharmaceuticals first, because realism gives us a production method for our arts academies that's superior for what I'm trying to do. And then pharmaceuticals gets us access to hospitals, which I do want to have, because it seems to have access maybe only to charity hospitals. But I would like to have either private or public health insurance, because having these will reduce mortality, and mortality is, we really want to keep our population growth up as playing as Sweden, because our population is quite low, and we absolutely need a solid population base in order to have an economy that can stand up to other European powers. Discipline and punish. The role of discipline in the new public schools is raised by the armed forces as an area of improvement in the plans for this new education system. Oof. Discipline that sentence. The armed forces have raised the issue of discipline in the new public schools as an area of improvement for the new education system. That's what that should say. This is not merely about keeping an orderly class. You can do it in European soldier voice. This is not merely about keeping an orderly classroom so that knowledge can be imparted. It's about imparting character. After all, we have been given an enormous responsibility by the parents of these children, who do all they can to raise them as upstanding citizens. Too often we find boys joining the military service whose character has already been almost irrevocably ruined by an unruly youth and a lack of respect for authority. It needn't be so. So, we should focus on the curriculum. That option gives us reduced enactment time, but it bothers the armed forces. Or, working this into the school system is paramount. This gives us just increased enactment time. Oh, a lot of increases to enactment time. Can I tolerate the armed forces being a little mad? I think I can. Yeah, I'm going to focus on the curriculum. I'll reduce our enactment time a little bit, but that's okay. Really hoping for a success, or at the very least something that increases enactment chance going forward. They're not fervently patriotic anymore, but that's okay. Again, I'm not fighting in a war. So, alright, we'll get the rest of these. We just finished our coal mine, so I'm going to get the rest of these over to the atmospheric engine. Again, that's going to really dramatically increase the amount of iron in the market. We're still... Oh, people are buying it abroad. That's why we got so many iron mines. That's why the price of iron is so high. That's interesting. Huh. Got people buying our tools, but we've also got I got 2 tooling workshops under construction, one in the private sector. So that should be going up as time goes on. So we just got 1 new construction sector built, and this one is still working on getting fully employed. Again, in terms of overall efficiency, it's better to stack things up, but in terms of what I'm trying to do for now, it's better to spread them out. So slowly that's going to reduce our surplus as more and more of the government's money goes into building those things. But it will also increase the amount of construction we put out, which will in turn increase our speed of construction. Oh, this is wonderful. We've unlocked intensive agriculture. This is very important. Number 1, it lets us do intensive grazing for ranches, which lets them output fertilizer. Number 2, it allows us to use fertilizer for our farms. Number 3, it lets us build chemical plants, which output fertilizer and, more importantly, explosives, which are going to be very important for our long-term plan. So, I'm going to go ahead and queue up a chemical plant. I'm going to put it in Göttingen. And we're going to shunt it all the way to the top. After these tooling workshops. This thing isn't critical for now, but it will be critical later. I'm actually going to put it maybe at the bottom of the spread out universities. So, other changes. Number 1, this will produce atmospheric. Oh, excellent. The atmospheric engine. Through the widespread introduction of the atmospheric engine in the mining industry, productivity is at an all-time high. When steam first began to pump and wheels go round at so many revolutions per minute, what are called business habits were intended to make the life of a man run in harmony with the steam engine, and his movement rival the engine in punctuality. I'm sure we can squeeze a little bit more from this machines. That gives us a big ol' increase in mine throughput. And perhaps this is another way. This gives us faster research for the water tube boiler. I think we've got to go with the second one. I would love to have more productive mines, but getting faster tech is so critical in the early game that I've just got to go with that one. So, if we go to intensive grazing ranches, that'll produce 100 fertilizer. If we take these and go to soil-enriched farming, that'll cost 135 fertilizer. And I think that's just perfect, and I'll explain why in a second. The thing about these markets is you can tolerate having more buy orders than sell orders by quite a bit, and it won't be a problem. So you can have a situation like that. You don't necessarily have to have demand always be equal to or below supply. On to the dogs. A horrendous first draft of public schools has every faction clamoring to ram in their desired changes. Rudolf Arrhenius has the lion's share of demands. Double pay on Saturday? Do they think we bathe in money? And 15 minutes for a smoke break? Preposterous. Assured sickness leave would help blunt tuberculosis outbreaks. Pages brought fresh inkwells for every half-interested note-taker in the chamber. It was already a long day and promised to be a longer evening. Many more inkwells would be needed before this unruly child was put to bed. So, our options are stay the course and clear up any errors. That would give us 10% enactment chance and increased approval and attraction for the industrialists. Hear out Rudolf Arrhenius' faction. It would give us 10% and increase Arrhenius' stuff. He's the rural folk. That's this guy. There's the icon for the rural folk here in this little tree. Take some of the intelligentsia suggestions. That would make the intelligentsia stronger. Okay, so we'll get 10%. Sorry. Things are going buck wild over here. We're going to get 10% enactment chance out of this regardless. We just get to improve one of the other factions and make them happy. I would really like... The intelligentsia are very happy with me. I would really like the industrialists to be happier, so I'm going to go with them. If we can get them up to 10, we can get something really good. So this is a revolution. I said earlier that the church was probably not going to fight us over public schools, but they are. That's okay, though. And the reason it's okay is because their political movement radicalism is only 49, and that's just not that high. It needs to be at 100% or higher in order to, be able to actually revolt. Oh, they chilled out. They relaxed. It's fine. There's not going to be a revolution. We'll be fine. If I were playing more optimally, I might suppress them. But honestly, I don't think that's useful in the medium term. Again, I could bring taxes back up. See, the thing about interest groups is it costs 100 or 200 or 300 authority to maintain these consumption taxes that generate all this revenue for me. In fact, I should probably change this up. I could be more efficient about this. Yeah, I could definitely be more efficient about this. Well, we're getting almost 5K a week from consumption taxes on fish. Anyway, it takes us about 100 authority for each of these consumption taxes. There are some exceptions. Fish is a funny one because we have a lot of fish in our market, but most countries wouldn't do that. But if you've got 200, you can suppress an interest group to make them weaker. But the thing is, the Church of Sweden's already not that powerful, and it's going to get a lot weaker once we've got public schools. It's going to go down by 30%. So I'm really not that concerned about them. I really think they'll be just fine. Yeah, okay. Can you maybe chill? Can you just try and relax, and we can not have a problem here? Oh, I'm going to recruit a new general. Let's see. The Baltic HQ needs a general. You're also a Republican. That's pretty good. And I don't want to increase the power of either of these factions, so I'm going to go with this guy. He's a bigot, but these things happen. Bigot's a trait that he has. I'm not saying Republicans are bigots. Also, Republican in this context means something different from what it does in American politics. Just wanted to clarify that, because things can be silly on the internet. We've almost got mechanical tools, and that'll be really good, because a lot of our people like having fancy luxury furniture, and... Wait a minute, am I not producing any luxury furniture? I don't have any freaking furniture factories. Gosh, Shaggy. That's something I need. We're going to have some furniture factories. That's going to be a long-term desire, though. So basically, this is going to tick up every so often, and it's going to have an event. But hopefully, basically, hey, there's mechanical tools. Wonderful. I can produce a ton more paper. I'm going to explain revolutions in a second, but I'm really not that worried about this revolution. It's really only on the cusp of being strong enough to actually do anything. So I can import a ton more paper if I have some sulfur. Can I build sulfur mines anywhere? I cannot. So I'm going to need to import sulfur. But that's okay. That'll be just fine. I can live with importing sulfur. Because it'd be great to have cheaper paper. That would make it cheaper for me to run a government. And I do so love running a government. We're going to do this, and we're going to import sulfur from whoever will sell it at the best price, which looks like Prussia. I can get it from Sicily, but it's from very far away. And Prussia will sell us enough to function. The rebels' doctor. A doctor in Gotland has been caught aiding wounded dissidents and revolutionaries. His aid isn't just helping his patients, but it's emboldened the entire rebel movement. The doctor's defense attorney leaned back, nursing a small headache. The medical man had proven impossible to work with. His attempts at defense had just dug a deeper hole for himself. His waffling was painful, and his refusal to trust his counsel or even his kinfolk had ruined the chances of getting a lighter sentence. His persistent denials had served to only make his name mud. Investigate the medical profession in Gotland for sympathizers. Academics in Gotland will be big mad, but... Or Gotland, not Gotland. Gotland is off the coast here. There are no academics in Gotland, so I'm not worried about that. Or 2% of one doctor is obviously a lone wolf. There's nothing to follow up in this 2% academics in all of Sweden. Well, I'm definitely going to do this one because there's fewer academics in Gotland than there are in Sweden as a whole, and that's going to reduce the progress of the Civil War by 5%. Currently, the Civil War is at 10% progress. It's going to go down to 5. That's nice. Pen and paper. The enactment of public schools has come to a halt due to some public protests. Many are the families that lack the purchasing power to meet the expense that buying new school supplies imply, thus preventing their children from scholarization. Oof. Listen, no parent would try to stop their children from getting a better future than the one they'll be getting here. But if I need to make a decision, and that decision is between buying bread and buying some pen and ink, I'd say that ain't no fair decision. So our options are wealth cannot be a prohibiting factor. That's just going to cost us a bunch of bureaucracy. Or we cannot devote even more public funds. That's going to reduce enactment chance. All right, so I'm going to do this. It's going to hurt. That's going to goof up our finances and reduce our bureaucracy. But luckily, I just got our paper mills producing way more paper. So it's time to have our government administrations go to a standardized filing system. And that'll produce a ton more bureaucracy at the cost of me having to pay for a ton more paper. I've dramatically increased the cost of paper, which is dramatically increasing the cost of governing. It is what it is. Other stuff. Ooh, interesting. So this is interesting. I hadn't reckoned on this. But now that we've finished mechanical tools, we have access to a production method that increases the efficiency of our tooling workshop significantly, but we need to get steel in order to make it happen. So I probably should have built a steel mill instead of a tooling workshop here, but where am I building this? Svealand? That's fine. We're going to build a steel mill. I'm going to build it in Zealand. Zealand has a significant unemployed population. That's unfortunate. So once again, we're going. My need to improve the economy is going to get in the way of my academic expansion, but this is going to be very, very good, because when this gets up here, we'll be able to make our tools out of steel, and that will mean tools will finally get cheap. One interesting thing that's going on here. Okay. So I think our... Oh no, we're still not fully incorporated here. We've got 8 weeks on those places. So I've still got an increase in revenue going. Publishing committee prosecutions. A committee of publishers associated with the Church of Sweden that produce incendiary pamphlets have been brought before the courts. This agglomeration of dangerous men must be stopped. We must take from them the means of provoking the mob and reduce these arrogant fools to their true proportions, to their role as little more than obscure conspirators and criminals. Push for a trial in the courts. This gives them interest group pop attraction, but reduces progress of the Civil War. Quietly muzzle the publishers. This reduces the progress of the Civil War and reduces their political strength. And let them go. They're harmless. Random result. I think this one's got to be the one we do. Because that slows down the Civil War and makes them weaker. So, yeah, we're doing that. Alright. Defamatory article. A newspaper called the Svealand Times has printed a bigoted article about the Ashkenazi people living there. We can suppress the article, or we can let it be released. If we suppress it, it'll reduce our authority. We can afford to lose some authority. Or we can ignore it, and that'll reduce standard of living for Ashkenazi people in Svealand. I'm going to suppress it. That's going to reduce our authority by 35. That's going to not really affect a single solitary thing. That'll be just fine. Cool. Go back to moving at speed 3. This movement should dissipate once we've got public schools passed, and I am really hoping to pass public schools. So I think this revolution is capped out at 50%, and its chances of pulling in different areas are pretty low here. So we've got, it's definitely going to pull in Götaland, but it's only got a 39% chance for Scania and a 7% chance for Norrland. And even if it gets both of those, it'll only get 15 battalions and 5 ships, whereas our total armed forces consists of 51 battalions and 20 ships. So if there's a religious revolt, we'll be able to overwhelm them through force of arms, and that will be a very effective method. This is causing a lot of radicals, though. Oh, gosh. Maybe once this is done, I'll give the country some time to just relax before we go on with more liberalization. Opportunistic members of the rural folk have defected to the Church of Sweden's cause. Carrion crows pluck from fresh deaths no matter the cause. Some, however, sense that when a still living beast is about to die... Setback. When a still living beast is about to die, the creature will wait however long it takes for said meal to die, but better to be the first there with the choicest pick of meat than hoping for scraps. We say so be it. That weakens the rural folk and makes the Church of Sweden stronger. If we try to coax them back, it costs us a little bureaucracy. I have to do this one, because again, we want to make the revolution weaker if we can, if at all possible. Happily, this is only over like a single issue situation, and we're only getting one interest group fighting over it. If we end up with one of these groups in the hands of someone theocratic, we could potentially have a situation where that interest group will side with the Church of Sweden, and then then we'll need to reassess the viability of our campaign for public schools. With that having been said, the landowners are almost back to neutral with their whole situation. And having fully finished incorporating the Danish states, these states are all now incorporated, and that means that our revenue is doing just fine. Our finances are doing just fine as a country. And I'm very pleased with that. It means that we can afford to continue doing what we're doing. Membership lists discovered. A surprise police raid has uncovered a list of radicals associated with the Church of Sweden. There are several ways this list can be used to the government's advantage. They came for us too quickly. We had no time to hide anything. Thanks to that, now we need time to hide everyone. Hunt down every member on the list. That's just minus 10% Civil War stuff. Publicly expose the connections between the Church of Sweden and the radicals. Reduced interest-group political strength. I think we're definitely going to do this. Because that's going to make the Church of Sweden much weaker politically. See, they're going down. And that's really important because the less power they have, the less this revolt is going to affect anything. Oh, interesting, it moved. 74% for Jutland now. And automatically Scania and Gotland. Huh. That is not great. Alright. I'm looking around for a defensive pact so that I can hopefully get a country who's willing to help out. Nobody seems very friendly with me right now, which is sad because I improved relations with all those people. Well, this is unfortunate. But again, I'm not really concerned about this. Its maximum progress is 51, so we'll be able to head this off at the pass. If all else fails, I can just cancel the plan to go to public school to go to public schools, and then we'll just live with the result. But I'm hoping not to do that. Oh my gosh, it's the middle of 1841 already. Let's go to the end of 1841, and then we'll be good to go. So, the reactionary leanings of many clergymen affiliated with the Church of Sweden have given rise to demands to curb the political influence of Swedish religious institutions. I've made my opinions on this clear. All of the monasteries in Stockholm are not worth the life of a single Swedish citizen. They're holy men and women, and they can say what they will. Civil War... Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Settle down, Victoria 3. I've paused the game now. We've unlocked the screw frigate. That's a technology I'm not concerning myself with it. It's not that important. We're not worried too much about the naval stuff right now. So this will increase the progress of the Civil War, and increase the strength of the religious schools movement, or bolt their temples shut and arrest clergy who resist. This will radicalize member pops of the Church of Sweden, but will reduce the progress of the Civil War. I'm going to do this one. I don't want to make any of them stronger. So, school organization. The Church of Sweden have traditionally taken on some responsibility for the education of Sweden. As the new system of public schools is built, the question of their role in organizing these schools has become central to the reform. The organizational responsibility should be on the Church of Sweden. Makes them stronger, reduces success chance. We need to build a secular school system from the ground up, reduce enactment time. I mean, I've got to do the increased enactment time one. It's going to slow this down, but again, I can't take any reductions in success chance because I can't deal with that. This is really interesting. I actually really like the way the new revolution mechanic is set up. I think that's neat. Hans Wallen has appeared. He's an authoritarian. So authoritarian, what does this mean? He's part of the rural folk, so he'll try to do rural folk stuff. He likes oligarchy, technocracy, and single-party state. Oligarchy, autocracy, and single-party state. He opposes voting of all kinds, but especially ones where almost anyone can vote. Stance on free speech. He likes outlawing dissent and opposes free speech. Stance on internal security. He likes secret police and opposes guaranteed liberties. I don't like this guy. I don't think he's great for the country. So I think he's got to go. Time for you to go abroad. Cost me a bunch of rural folk. But hey, egalitarianism. A fort in a sea of anger. Mobs have surrounded an arsenal in Jutland, threatening to seize the arms and munitions stored within. While the guards are staving off attacks for now, if no relief is sent, then the arsenal will fall to the insurrectionists. I couldn't sleep last night. The commander refuses to accept terms, and firing continues from both the arsenal and the emplacements that now surround it. After one loud blast, I sprung out of bed and went down to my knees to pray as I've never prayed before. A relief column could escalate tensions a bit, but it's necessary. This will radicalize some servicemen pops in Jutland. Large chance of a reduction, small chance of an increase. The mob could be emboldened by a surrender, but we need to take that risk. 5% of officers get more radical. Small percent of a large decrease, large percent of a small increase. I'm more a fan of this one. Oh, damn. Went to 53%. Well, happily, it can't naturally get above that. So the only way it can get farther is with events. So hopefully that'll be just fine. So, trying to get these steel mills built. Why do we have reduced construction efficiency in Zealand? It's just because of turmoil? It is. It's because of turmoil. Gosh. We sure do have a lot of radicals. It's very early on in the game, but we've got a lot of radicals. If I stop trying to pass this, we'll lose about 2/3 of our radicals. But if I really want to keep going. I feel like we've gotten a lot of stall events. And I'm really hoping... we can get this done, because the Church of Sweden is a real reactionary force, and I would really like to be in a situation where they're not able to have such a strong influence on the country as they have now. I really would be just delighted by that. The mob approaches. Hold on. We're supposed to have 56% maximum progress. Belligerent crowds have been getting increasingly provocative when confronted by troops in Zealand. Hardliners in government are demanding tougher responses, while dubs are calling for troops to stand down as the first hopeful step in de-escalation. A whiff of grape shot saved the day once, and it can be done again. I'm telling you, we need to show strength now. Strength? Ha! Bullets are an admission of weakness. We need to talk and show them we're not afraid. That's how we'll get them. So, disperse the crowds by force. This is 5% of pops get more radical, 50%, or a 50% chance of reducing progress, or order the troops to stand down. 50% chance of an increase in progress, 50% chance pops become more loyalist. Interesting. I'm going to go with the gamble here. Hey, it worked. Excellent. So we got more loyalist pops, and that's wonderful. I think that's going to happen once time ticks over here in Zealand. Did that happen? Oh yeah, it did, because it's not having any turmoil anymore. That's excellent. I'm very pleased by this. Wonderful. All right, so that was very good. We gambled and won. Come on, give me a success. We've been all working hard here. 4 more weeks till the steel mills are done. That'll hopefully help in this area because, gosh darn it, they just got back up above 25%. That's okay. That's okay. Hopefully, the better jobs from those steel mills will help everything out. Backroom deals. Once again. Somewhere, once on the fence with you, you've seen this event before. So we can reduce enactment chance, stay focused on the law, corruption is a tool like any other. I'm going to stay focused on the law. Hopefully that will reduce enactment chance, and it did not. So we're pretty good. We're doing just fine. The one option is the one that gives those various different chances, and then the bottom one is a setback. And again, I don't want a setback because I've already got one setback, and that's just what it is. So we should get a reduction in progress. Yeah, here we go. Ersatz food. Struggling people in Zealand have been desperately trying to get their hands on any food they can. Dire warnings of a turnip winter have been spreading throughout the region. Last week, all we could get is pig's feed. This week, I'm not actually sure what this stuff is. Is that sawdust? At least food substitutes fill people's stomachs. That's mortality. Try to increase local food production by any means possible. There's agriculture tax income and increases agriculture throughput. We can't do anything for Zealand to reduce agriculture throughput and increase the Civil War process. Well, I think this will be fine. I'm not too worried about agriculture throughput in Zealand. I'm not too worried about agriculture tax income in Zealand. I would love to reduce the war progress. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. Interesting. I'm just kind of buying time for this to get going. But hey, the movement to enact secret police is suspended. Alright, so we've got our steel mill now. So we're going to go to making steel tools. And then this steel mill is going to start outputting a bunch of steel. And hopefully that will be able to fill our steel needs. And that will in turn increase the number of tools we output very, very significantly. Which it does. See, that's why... That's kind of the way the economy works. You get these multipliers that... See, this production method, compared to the old production method, produces way more tools. It produces 30% more, it looks like. So each of these swing workshops now outputs 80 per month instead of 60. And that means that we're much closer to good on steel. We're a little rough on coal. And that... The steel mill is going to operate at maximum capacity, but we should increase coal mines in Scania. Yeah, we're going to do that. And then we're going to get this university built. The Infernal Machine. An attempt on the life of our king has killed many but spared our ruler. A complex device that self-damaged in the attack is the only trace of the revolutionary left at the site of the attack. It's hard to say what happened. I heard a slow explosion, like a ragged platoon fire, and there was smoke and chaos all around. The people to my right and left were cut down where they stood, but I was untouched. I looked off towards the king, and there was just as suddenly a bloody void surrounding him. We could limit Oscar Bernadotte's public appearances for a while. That reduces popularity. The crime was obviously the fault of Rudolf Arrhenius. 33% chance of reduced Civil War progress. 33% chance of Rudolf Arrhenius goes on the run. 33% chance of Rudolf Arrhenius is cleared of all charges, which increases progress of the Civil War. Oscar Bernadotte. What does her popularity do for me? I think it just adds authority. Let's just go ahead and limit his public appearances. Yeah, so that reduces our authority by a little bit. But that's okay. I don't want to risk something weird happening to our little agitator boy here. Our little guy radicalizing 20 people a week, a month. 91% for Schleswig-Holstein. This is really weird. I don't know why this is. Oh, now it's higher. Interesting. Come on, give me a success. Give me a success here, man. Well, anyway, it's now 1842. We've been going a long time, so I'm going to put a pin in it, and we'll see what happens with the anti-public schools revolution in the next episode. But for now, it turns out that my plan to have a nice, quiet, relaxed city builder type run has so far not super well panned out. But yeah, we'll see the exciting conclusion of the revolution one way or another in the next episode. But for now, I've had fun. I hope you've had fun, and I'll see y'all on the other side.